Hello, hello. My name is Linda, also known as Torta Jala around the internet, and I love creative journaling and all things stationery. And in this video, I wanted to share a closer look at this vintage Filofax Charleston organizer with you. This organizer is actually from like 2013 or so. Basically, that is when the line was first released. I suppose it's might not actually be that old to be called vintage, but it is no longer in production. So I tend to call like anything a Filofax vintage when it's like no longer being sold in the market and you can only find it used. But this being, over 10 years old, it's still in great condition. And I honestly think that most of my like vintage Filofaxes, they just feel so much more high quality than anything I've ever tried or looked at in the modern day Filofax stores. So let me explain and show you. This Filofax Charleston range of binders uses full grain buffalo leather. There seems to be like a few different variations, so I'm not sure if it was labeled, but there seems to be like coarse leather, fine leather. Um, Maybe it's a bit like resin fountain pens where each one is unique, obviously, because each piece of leather is unique since it's an animal's skin. But this Charleston line was named this way because it was inspired by the Great Gatsby era, sort of like luxury glamour type of thing. So that is what they were going for. It came in this A5 size as well as like compact personal and pocket size in brown, red, and this purple color. And I got this particular one used for 20 euro, but I don't think it was really used much at all. There was some writing in the papers inside, but you can see that it probably was just in storage for many years because it looks practically mint condition to me. You can see that the leather is still beautiful. It is not cracking. It is not peeling. It looks, yeah, just like mint condition. And one of the things I have found in my personal experience is that all of my like vintage or older Filofaxes and even some other brands as well, but secondhand purchases, they all feel so much more like sturdy and high quality. And even if they have some wear and tear, it just seems to have like held up much better to the test of time compared to just the models that are offered today that seem to be very, very pricey, but not necessarily of the best quality. And I know that Filofax is catering to new audiences and, they're offering budget options, like the Saffiano leather line or maybe the Domino ones that are not leather, I don't think, but they're so bad. Like the glued parts will come apart, like especially if you live in like a hot weather area and it flakes off and it's just really bad when it comes to aging. And of course that happens in many different products, right? If you have cheap materials or like plastic pu kind of leather, or even if it's real leather but it's like pasted on some substrate and just not made well, over time it can crack, peel off, or flake off, and it's just so sad. Obviously changes in temperature, sun exposure, just time, it's going to deteriorate a product, of course, but I try really hard to find things that I think will last like over time rather than just deteriorate in a very negative or bad way. So if you do a little research, I'm sure you can find photos of like really horrible horror stories, like slipping an old agenda off your shelf and finding that the cover material starts to break into like a million pieces or the glued parts will just like fall apart. I don't know if you guys know back in the day, Kiki K planners were like really popular and they were not even that cheap, but they fall apart. Um, and I'm sure there are many other names too where that happens too. Even Filofax, the Guilford line of planners had a very thin layer of leather glued to a fabric type material, and I have a Guilford Slim in personal size, and it is starting to crack on the inside. So I don't even know what to do with it because I'm afraid it will start flaking really badly, so I can't really like use it. So yeah, it happens across the board. So all that to say is that I just really love when I find like an older model of a Filofax that I can buy and use, and it's also very discounted because it's just someone trying to get rid of their old stuff. So I think it's a really great way to find these types of like treasures. So this purple A5 size Charleston is pretty heavy in my hand, not just because it's A5 size, but I think the leather is pretty hefty and it's like multi-layered. There's probably some kind of like cardboard or lining or backing that stiffens it up. It was advertised as deluxe leather, so I'm assuming it was one of the pricier models at the time. I really, really like this super dark, muted purple color, beautiful, leather that you can see clearly here. I love purple in general. If you watch my YouTube videos, you'll notice that I have a lot of purple things. But yeah, this grayish mauve type of purple is really nice because it's something that I feel like it's not too in your face, but purple in itself is a very special color. And this sort of darker color makes it so that it's still pretty professional if you wanted to use this day to day and not, attract too much attention. But it's obviously more interesting than like the generic black. The outside has no pockets, very simple, just the beautiful leather, and the binding has the Filofax logo brand here. But the special thing about this planner is the clasp. This ring binder has a closure clasp. Similar to the old Calypso model of Filofax, it also has this like gold popper. I don't know the name of this piece, but like the metal clasp popper portion here is like a domed gold piece. So I guess they chose gold because it looks a little bit more classy. I don't see necessarily like gold hardware a lot in like these Filofax planners. So the cool thing about this clasp closure is that when you open it up, it swivels. So I don't know of other planners that have this like cool functionality or feature. You can swivel it out of the way and behind your planner when you open it up so that you don't have to like fight with the clasp that sometimes bothers people when they're like writing if you're right-handed like me. So just a really interesting like design detail. I think it's cool, right? So inside, oddly enough, it has regular silver rings inside. I wish it would match the gold studs on the outside. So I don't know what happened there, but I suppose some people don't mind the mixing of metal colors. But the studs that attach these rings to the planner are gold colored. So I don't know. I got this used, so I don't know if anything's been altered, but these are Filofax branded rings. So I guess they went with like a mixed metal kind of look. And the inside of this binder has a cloth polyester type of lining instead of leather. So I'm not sure if this is a match to the classy style and deluxe, sort of image that they're trying to portray. You can see that there are some folds down here already, probably from like the glue melting or something from long exposure and sitting upright on a shelf. So it does look a little bit cheap, but on the left hand side here, you'll see that there's this very stylish cutout for this front pocket. It looks very cool, very chic and classy. I think it's very unique and different. So obviously more of a decorative item than to hold like a lot of items, but I really like it. And you can see here it says Filofax Charleston A5 Organiser Deluxe Leather. Then you have two full-length pockets on the left and right side here. The left side is, of course, not as deep, and the right side would almost be A5, a little bit less, and then the 5 horizontal business card slots. So the rings in this seem to be 25 millimeter, pretty classic. And on the back side of this planner, there is a full-length pocket in that same black fabric material. Then there's another piece of leather to create these two business card slots. They're all pretty tight, so I'm not sure how much you could stuff in here. And then there is a pen loop, and it is an elastic pen loop. It feels pretty stiff though. I know that people say that elastic will loosen over time, but this seems like a pretty hefty elastic, pretty tight. I think it depends on your use and what you put in here. But yeah, a pretty standard amount of storage space for a ring binder. And again, I really love this leather. I love the patterns, the dark color. It is really soft to the touch, but at the same time, like sturdy. Obviously buffalo leather, but it makes it so that I'm not afraid to use this. I'm not afraid of like scratching it up or something like that. So that is good. So that is my Filofax Charleston A5 ring binder in this purple colorway. I hope you enjoyed taking a peek into this vintage agenda. And I wanted to share because as we head into the end of the year and planner season frenzy is upon us, I thought it would be good to share that there are actually a lot of used items out there that are actually great quality that perhaps could suit your needs. Oftentimes, you can get a better deal on used items, and I notice that sometimes the price of these items shoot up because, like, an influencer talks about them or something. I'm not an influencer, but it's just something that I noticed because if you've been in the community, you might have noticed like the Filofax Ranger. It was just like a regular vintage planner that you could buy. But then some influencers started talking about it, everybody wanted one, and the price of it just went crazy. And it is not even real leather. It's not really my style and has like too many pockets for my taste, but it was just interesting to notice that aspect of how someone like talked about it and they were famous, so then it got everybody wanting one and searching for it, so then the price of it went crazy. But if you just take a look at the used market and don't make any impulse buys, but rather like survey the market for a while so that you can see over time like what's available, what gets listed, what's the possible pricing in your country, so that then you have a better understanding of the used market and then you could find a deal and ultimately make an informed purchase, um, considering all the options out there. And yeah, I just wanted to share that there are so many, pre-loved, used, older models, whatever, that could be really good and could really suit your needs. So you don't necessarily have to buy some brand new shiny thing. And sometimes the older models are actually better quality and cheaper. So it might really be to your advantage. So that's all I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more stationery videos. I hope you have a great day, and until next time, bye.